One of the things that bothers me the very, very most about us humans in this world, we are prideful. We tend to be prideful about our own experiences. Um, an example of that happened over the 4th of July or the 24th, a Utah holiday, where someone in my neighborhood had posted to be aware of veterans who have PTSD in preparation for fireworks. And there was a gentleman who responded that said, PTSD is not real, and I'm a veteran, and I went through all of that, and I know better, doesn't exist, period. And I don't know what was going on with this gentleman, why he would say something like that. It's possible that he wasn't allowed or felt ridiculed for sharing his own emotions at some point in his life. However, I think it's very important to have this discussion where we can be more accepting of the experiences of other people. It only makes things so much worse when we are taking our own experience and putting a period at the end of that experience, and no one else can have or experience anything different. PTSD, especially chronic PTSD, is very complicated. Complex PTSD is actually a name of a type of PTSD that often happens with people who have survived traumatic experiences in childhood or reoccurring, but sometimes can be chronic for veterans as well. Complex, I mean. The thing is that we live in a world where we like to touch and see and taste and smell and basically not worry about the unseen. And if we can see a broken bone or a cancer tumor, that's easy for us to accept. But having complex, now I've got the two mixed up, the complex PTSD is like cancer. And the way that it is like cancer, it actually feeds on you and eats your personality. For people who don't understand, you could work your whole entire life trying to make sense of or undo a single thing that you had seen or endured, experienced. I myself have used every tool that has even been laid down in front of me. I'm still preparing to go see a neurologist tomorrow, and I have a TMS, I think is what it's called, a new procedure that I'll talk about later, that I'll tell you how it goes, but to help with the thoughts, the brain patterns, with electromagnetic pulses, I think is how they use it. Anyhow, this unseen cancer it's very heavy. It's a very hard weight to carry, especially by yourself, especially when we live in the type of world that is all about competition. It's all about successes, rewards, salary. I've struggled with this my whole life, and no matter what I did, No matter how many things I tried out for, I wasn't the type of person to stay in my room and cry. I wasn't the type of person to give up. I watched my mom kind of as I was growing up struggle with this kind of stuff, and I was determined to keep pushing myself and to keep healing, and couldn't understand why I was doing such a bad job at it, why I was still struggling so hard even as the years progressed and progressed and progressed. And I think that things could have been a lot easier if I would have had the support system that I needed, if people would have acknowledged the fact that this emotional, mental trauma is a real thing, and it's a real thing that affects how we think, how we're able to, it actually affects our emotional or metaphysical immune system, if you will. Whereas if a certain situation, like say we're judged a certain way, or we came up short at work or somewhere in the way of, like, we're not able to compete with the people around us, then we might be more critical. We might have automatic responses of shame and guilt, and I'm not good enough, and I'm not lovable, and people take advantage of me, and it turns out to be a war zone in the head. And I can't explain it except for what is planted in us when we are sexually abused is pure darkness, it's pure evil, and like a tumor, it's very aggressive and very harmful to the mind, and in a result to the whole body. And all the people that are just self-medicating with drugs and alcohol or whatever, this is what they're trying to stop. They're trying to stop this war in their head. It's exhausting. It is so exhausting. And if people understood that, and if people could have more compassion for that, and if people could just realize, that we are doing everything that we can, that this isn't a forgive and a forget or shut off the light switch kind of a thing. This is a real sickness, a real disease that we're dealing with on a daily basis, on a yearly and a decade basis of our lives, just doing the very best that we can. Anyways, I know that there has been some change in this area, and I'm very grateful for the people who have spoken out and made these changes. And hopefully we can continue as we're, preparing for hopefully a better millennium in the future, that we can have more understanding and compassion as we keep going for people who have complex PTSD.